Have you ever looked at the person emptying your trash can or mopping the hallway and wondered what they know? What if I told you the digital world you live in and the apps, the banking systems, the AI, was built by a man who couldn't get past the security guard at the front door? This is the true story of Marcus, a man invisible to the world, until a billionaire discovered that the janitor was actually the architect of the modern internet. Before we dive into this incredible revelation, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video if you believe talent comes from the most unexpected places. The hallway on the 40th floor of OmniCorp smelled faintly of lemon zest and expensive cologne. It was 2 a.m. Most of the glass-walled offices were dark, save for the glow of monitors in the war room. Inside, 6 of the highest-paid senior developers in Silicon Valley were sweating through their dress shirts. Marcus pushed his cart slowly across the polished concrete floor. The squeak of the mop bucket's wheel was the only sound competing with the frantic typing inside the war room. Marcus was 54, with graying stubble and a back that ached from 3 decades of manual labor. To the people at OmniCorp, he was furniture. He was the night guy. He was the reason the trash cans weren't overflowing. He paused outside the glass. He couldn't help it. "It's a memory leak in the garbage collector," a junior dev named Kyle shouted, throwing his hands up. "The legacy code from the Onyx framework is eating the RAM. The servers are going to crash before the Asia markets open." "Just bypass the protocol," the lead engineer, Sarah, snapped. "You can't bypass Onyx," Kyle retorted. "The guy who wrote it, this anonymous ghost_01, locked the kernel. If we touch the core, the encryption keys dissolve. We lose the client data. We lose everything." Marcus gripped the handle of his mop. He stared at the screens. They were running a recursive diagnostic on the Onyx framework. He knew exactly what was wrong. It wasn't the garbage collector. It was a race condition in the thread pool they had implemented 3 hours ago. They were blaming the framework, but they were using it wrong. He shouldn't say anything. The last time he tried to offer advice at a previous job, he was fired for snooping. But this was Onyx. Marcus sighed, the sound lost in the hum of the building's HVAC system. He pulled a dry erase marker from his pocket, one he usually used to mark cleaning schedules on the service closet door. He walked to the whiteboard in the hallway, which was covered in frantic diagrams from earlier in the day. In the corner, unnoticed, he wrote 4 lines of code. It was a patch script. Simple. Elegant. It rerouted the thread allocation, bypassing the blockage. He capped the marker, put it back in his pocket, and pushed his cart toward the elevator. As the doors closed, he saw Kyle storm out of the room to get coffee, stopping dead in his tracks as he looked at the whiteboard. 2 days later, the OmniCorp atmosphere had shifted from panic to celebration. The patch had worked. The system was faster than ever. The board of directors was flying in for the Apex Summit, the largest IT conference of the year, hosted right there in the building's massive auditorium. The CEO of OmniCorp was Elias Thorne. Thorne wasn't your typical suit, he was a visionary billionaire, a man who had started coding on a Commodore 64 and built an empire. He was also the man who had purchased the rights to use the Onyx framework for OmniCorp's infrastructure. Thorne was currently standing in the war room, looking at the whiteboard. No one had erased the 4 lines of code. "Who wrote this?" Thorne asked, his voice quiet but intense. Kyle, the junior dev, straightened his tie. "Sir, we all brainstormed, it was a team effort." Thorne turned around slowly. His eyes were like lasers. "Don't lie to me, son. I looked at your commit logs. You were trying to force a reboot when this patch was written. This syntax. I haven't seen this syntax since the early days of the open source forums. This is ghost_01 style. Is he here? Did you hire him?" Sarah, the lead engineer, looked at the floor. "We don't know who wrote it, sir. It was there in the morning." Thorne frowned. He walked over to the security terminal. "Pull the hallway footage from Tuesday, 2:15 a.m. The room went silent. On the giant screen, graining black and white footage played. It showed the hallway. It showed the war room, full of frantic developers. And then, it showed a man in a navy blue jumpsuit pushing a janitorial cart. He stopped. He wrote on the board. He left. "The janitor?" Kyle laughed nervously. "No way. He probably just copied something he saw on a screen." Thorne didn't laugh. He zoomed in on the video. The man didn't hesitate. He didn't look at a phone. He wrote the code from his mind. "Find him," Thorne said. "Invite him to the Apex Summit tonight. I want him in the front row." Marcus was buffing the lobby floors when the head of security approached him. He expected to be fired. He had been waiting for it since he wrote on the board. "Mr. Holloway," the guard asked. "Yes, sir." "Look, about the whiteboard." Mr. Thorne requests your presence at the summit tonight. Here is your pass. Marcus looked at the lanyard. It didn't say staff or service. It said VIP. I don't have a suit, Marcus said, his heart hammering against his ribs. Mr. Thorne said, come as you are. The Apex Summit was a sea of tailored Italian suits, smartwatches, and ego. The auditorium was packed with 2,000 of the world's elite developers, investors, and tech journalists. The air buzzed with anticipation for Elias Thorne's keynote speech. When Marcus arrived, he felt like an alien. He was wearing his clean, Sunday best, a button-down shirt that was slightly frayed at the collar and dress slacks he bought at a thrift store. He still looked like a man who worked with his hands, surrounded by men who worked with their egos. As he made his way to the front row, a hand shot out and blocked his path. It was Kyle. Whoa, buddy, Kyle sneered, swirling a glass of champagne. Service entrance is around back. You're here to empty the bins later, right? I have a pass, Marcus said quietly, holding up the lanyard. Kyle snatched it, looking at it with disdain. VIP? There must be a mistake in the printing office. You're the night janitor. Look, don't embarrass yourself. Just go back to the closet until the event is over. Is there a problem here? The voice boomed. Elias Thorne walked out from the side stage. The crowd hushed. Cameras flashed. Mr. Thorne, Kyle smiled, his demeanor instantly shifting to sycophantic charm. Just handling a security breach. This staff member got confused. He's not confused, Thorne said, staring cold daggers at Kyle. He's my guest of honor. Thorne put a hand on Marcus's shoulder and guided him past the stunned developer. Come with me, Marcus. It's time. Thorne led Marcus not to a seat, but up the stairs onto the main stage. The room went dead silent. The spotlight hit them, blindingly bright. Thorne walked to the podium, leaving Marcus standing awkwardly by his side. Ladies and gentlemen, Thorne began, his voice echoing through the sound system. We are here to celebrate innovation. We are here to talk about the future. But for the last 10 years, our company, and 70% of the world's banking systems, have run on a programming language called Onyx. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. Onyx was legendary. It was the fastest, most secure language ever built. But its creator, known only by the pseudonym Ghost_01, had vanished from the internet 5 years ago. We have called the creator of Onyx a genius, Thorne continued. We have studied his code like scripture. We have built billion-dollar empires on the foundation he laid for free. Thorne turned to Marcus. Marcus, how long have you worked at OmniCorp? Marcus cleared his throat. He leaned toward the mic. 4 years, sir. And what is your job title? Janitor, level 2. A ripple of confused laughter went through the crowd. They thought it was a skit. Thorne's face remained serious. And before that? I worked at a warehouse. And before that, I was a mechanic. And when, Thorne asked softly, did you write Onyx? The silence in the room was heavy, suffocating. I started it in 1998, Marcus said. I was working the night shift at a university library as a cleaner. I used the computers after the students left. I couldn't afford tuition, but I read the books they left on the tables. I wanted to build something that couldn't be broken. Something efficient. Why did you stop? Thorne asked. My wife got sick, Marcus said, his voice cracking slightly. Cancer. The medical bills. I had to take a second job, then a third. I didn't have time to code anymore. I had to work. I had to survive. And when you look like me, and you have a resume that says janitor, no one lets you near the computers. They just want you to empty the trash. Thorne turned back to the audience. He pointed at the screen behind him. It displayed the code from the whiteboard. The fix Marcus had written. 2 days ago, my top team of engineers, graduates from MIT and Stanford, couldn't fix a critical failure. Marcus fixed it in 30 seconds with a dry erase marker while mopping the floor. Thorne looked at Kyle, who was pale white in the front row. We live in an industry that prides itself on meritocracy, Thorne said, his voice rising with anger. But we judge people by their clothes, their degrees, and their job titles. We walked past the greatest architectural mind of our generation every single day, and we didn't even look him in the eye. Thorne turned to Marcus and extended his hand. Marcus Holloway, I am not going to offer you a job as a developer. That would be an insult. You are the architect of our infrastructure. Thorne reached into his jacket and pulled out a check. He handed it to Marcus. This is the retroactive licensing fee for the use of Onyx over the last 10 years. It is a check for $12 million. And effective immediately, if you accept, you are the Chief Technical Officer of OmniCorp. Marcus looked at the check. His hands trembled. He looked out at the sea of faces, the people who had ignored him, walked over him, and mocked him. He looked at the camera. Tears streamed down his face, but he stood tall. He took the microphone one last time. "I didn't write Onyx for the money," Marcus said, his voice steadying. "I wrote it because I love the logic. I love that in code, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you come from. If the code is good, it runs. I just wish the world worked a little more like a compiler. No bias. Just truth." The applause started slowly. It was Elias Thorne first. Then the front row. Then, the entire auditorium rose to its feet. A standing ovation that shook the walls. Marcus Holloway, the janitor, didn't just fix the code that night. He recoded the way they saw the world. Outro. Marcus proved that brilliance hides in plain sight and that we should never judge a book, or a person, by their cover. If this story inspired you, please share this video to spread the message. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a story that matters. See you in the next video.